Single mom's misdelivered order leaves billionaire speechless with a revelation. Lila Harper gripped the handlebars of her rickety bicycle, weaving through the chaotic streets of New York City. The summer sun burned her skin, and sweat trickled down her forehead. In the front basket, her 6-year-old daughter, Mia, sat with her brown curls bouncing, her green eyes scanning the bustling city. Lila's delivery bag, heavy with takeout orders, swung against her side. This was her life, pedaling through traffic, cleaning houses in the early mornings, and selling homemade cookies at the weekend market. It was exhausting, but every pedal was for Mia. "Mom, I'm so thirsty," Mia said, her voice small but clear over the honking cars and street vendors' shouts. She tugged at Lila's sleeve, her face flushed from the heat. "We're almost done, sweetie," Lila replied, forcing a smile. "I'll get you a juice after this one. I promise." Her heart sank as she said it. Promises felt hollow lately. Money was always tight. 2 years ago, Mia's father, Tom, had walked out, taking their savings and leaving behind a mountain of debt. Lila worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat, but it was never enough. Juice wasn't just a treat, it was a luxury they could rarely afford. Today's delivery was unusual. Lila's phone buzzed with an address she didn't recognize, 237 Willow Lane. The Carson estate. Her GPS guided her away from the gritty, crowded streets to a quiet, upscale neighborhood on the edge of Manhattan. The change was stark. Crumbling apartment buildings gave way to tree-lined avenues, where mansions loomed behind high stone walls. Lila's stomach churned. She felt like an intruder in this world of wealth. "Look, Mom, that house is like a castle," Mia exclaimed, pointing at a mansion with towering columns and a perfectly trimmed lawn. Her voice was full of wonder, her eyes wide. Lila managed a laugh, though her chest tightened. "Yeah, honey, it's pretty fancy. Maybe one day we'll have a place like that." She didn't believe it, but she wanted Mia to dream. They slowed in front of a massive iron gate, its intricate design intimidating. Lila double-checked her phone. This was the right address. Her hands shook slightly as she adjusted her delivery bag. "Stay close, Mia," she said, helping her daughter off the bike. Mia's sneakers hit the pavement, and she clung to Lila's hand. Lila smoothed Mia's curls, took a deep breath, and pressed the intercom button. A sharp, cold voice crackled through the speaker. "Who's there?" "Hi, I'm Lila with Quick Bite Delivery," she said, trying to sound professional despite her nerves. There was a long pause. "You're late," the voice snapped. "Come in." The gate groaned open, and Mia darted forward, drawn to the lush garden beyond. Lila called after her, hurrying to catch up. The garden was breathtaking, roses in every color, a sparkling fountain, and pathways lined with manicured hedges. It was beautiful, but it made Lila feel small, like she didn't belong. A woman in a crisp gray uniform appeared at the mansion's entrance. Her face was stern, her eyes scanning Lila and Mia with suspicion. "You're not from our usual service," she said, her tone clipped. "No, ma'am," Lila said, her cheeks flushing. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just here to drop off food." The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Ellis, waved her hand dismissively. "Doesn't matter. Mr. Carson's waiting. Follow me." Before Lila could protest, a piercing cry echoed from inside the mansion. Mrs. Ellis's expression darkened. "That's Lily. She's been crying all day since the last nanny left." Lila's heart skipped a beat. "Nanny? She wasn't here for that." She opened her mouth to explain, but Mrs. Ellis was already marching inside, expecting Lila to follow. Mia squeezed Lila's hand, her eyes bright with curiosity. They stepped into a grand hallway that felt like a palace. Marble floors gleamed under a crystal chandelier, and gold-framed paintings lined the walls. The air smelled of fresh flowers, but the grandeur only made Lila more anxious. Mrs. Ellis led them up a sweeping staircase to a heavy wooden door. She knocked twice and opened it without waiting. Inside, a man stood by a tall window, his back to them. He was tall, his dark hair streaked with gray, his suit perfectly tailored. When he turned, his face was hard, his jaw set like he carried the weight of the world. This was James Carson, the mansion's owner. "You're late," he said, his voice cold and sharp. He didn't look at Lila or Mia, just strode past them. "Follow me, we don't have time." Lila hesitated, but Mia tugged her forward, her small hand warm in Lila's. They followed James up another staircase. the sound of sobbing growing louder. At the end of a long hallway, James pushed open a door. The room was enormous, filled with untouched toys, dolls, puzzles, a dollhouse bigger than Mia's bed. On a plush bed sat a girl, about 7, her brown hair tangled, her face streaked with tears. She hugged her knees, her sobs quiet but heartbreaking. Lila's chest ached. She didn't know this girl, but she recognized that pain, the kind that felt too big for a child. James stood in the doorway, his arms crossed, his face unreadable. "This is Lily," he said, his tone flat. "She's been like this for hours. No one can handle her." Lila frowned. "Handle her? She's just a kid," she thought. Without thinking, she stepped forward and sat on the edge of the bed, keeping her movements slow. "Hi, Lily," she said softly. "I'm Lila. It's okay to be sad. I'm here if you need me." Lily looked up, her red-rimmed eyes full of doubt. She didn't speak, but she didn't pull away either. Lila kept talking, her voice gentle and warm. "I have a daughter, Mia. She's about your age. Sometimes she gets sad, too. It's okay to feel that way." Mia, standing nearby, waved shyly. "Hi, Lily," she said, her voice bright like sunshine. Lily's eyes flicked to Mia, and her sobbing slowed. Just a little. Lila glanced at James. He was watching, his face still hard, but his shoulders weren't as tense. Something was shifting, even if he didn't show it. "She's not difficult," Lila said, meeting his gaze. "She just needs someone to listen." James didn't respond, but his eyes softened slightly. He cleared his throat, his voice quieter now. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "Lily's been different since her mom left. I've tried nannies, tutors, everything. Nothing works." Lila nodded. She understood. She wasn't a therapist or a nanny, but she was a mom. She knew love could do things money couldn't. "You're not alone," she said. "Kids don't need fixing. They need time and someone who cares. Just be there. That's enough." Lily sniffled and edged closer to Lila, her small hand brushing Lila's arm. "Does Mia cry a lot?" she whispered, her voice shaky. "Sometimes," Lila said, smiling, "but crying helps. It's like letting the hurt out so you can feel better." Lily didn't say more, but she leaned against Lila, her body relaxing. Lila stayed quiet, letting the moment settle. She felt James watching, his silence heavy but different now. He wasn't just a wealthy man anymore, he was a father who didn't know how to help his daughter. The room grew still, the only sound Lily's soft breathing. Lila didn't push her to talk. She just sat there, offering the kind of quiet comfort she gave Mia on tough days. Mia stood nearby, playing with a stuffed bear from the pile of toys, her presence a small light in the heavy room. James shifted in the doorway. "I've never known what to do with her," he said, almost to himself. "She's so fragile. I thought nannies could fix it. I was wrong." Lila looked at him, her voice steady. "She's not fragile. She's strong. She just needs to know you're not going anywhere." James's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. For the first time, Lila saw a crack in his cold exterior, a flicker of doubt. Maybe even hope. He nodded slightly, then turned and left the room without another word. Lila didn't know what to make of it, but she felt something had changed. Days passed, and Lila thought that was the end of it. She went back to her routine, deliveries, cleaning, baking, but then her phone rang. It was James. He asked her to come back to the mansion, not for a delivery, but to help with Lily. Lila wasn't sure why she agreed. Maybe it was the memory of Lily's tear-streaked face, or the way James had looked so lost. She brought Mia along, and soon, the Carson mansion became a regular part of their lives. Lily started to open up. At first, she was shy, watching Mia play from a distance. But Mia's bright energy was contagious. Soon, Lily joined in, her laughter soft but real. The two girls became fast friends, building blanket forts in the mansion's huge living room and drawing colorful pictures on rolls of paper. Lila watched, her heart swelling. She wasn't just helping Lily, she was giving Mia a friend. 2. James' change. 2. The cold, distant man Lila met that first day began to fade. He started spending time with Lily, not just hiring people to care for her. One afternoon, Lila found him in the garden, pushing Lily and Mia on a swing set. His suit jacket was off, his sleeves rolled up, and he was smiling, a real smile. Not the forced kind. Another day, she caught him sitting on the floor, letting Lily paint his nails with sparkly pink polish. He looked awkward, but he didn't pull away. Lila smiled to herself. He was trying, and that was everything. One morning, while Lila was in the mansion's massive kitchen, baking cookies for the girls, James walked in. He looked serious, his hands in his pockets. "Lila, can we talk?" he asked, his voice steady but uncertain. "Sure," she said, wiping flour off her hands. Her stomach fluttered. She wasn't sure what was coming. James took a deep breath. "You've changed everything," he said. "Lily's happier. She's laughing again. And I'm learning how to be her dad. I was so focused on work, on money, I forgot what she needed." Lila's eyes stung with tears. She hadn't expected this. "You're doing great, James," she said, her voice thick. "You're showing up. That's what matters." He shook his head, frustrated. "It's not enough. I haven't done enough. I was absent for so long." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "You've been through so much. Lila, you and Mia. I want to help, not just with money. But I want you to stay. Be part of this, part of us." Lila's breath caught. Stay? She was just a delivery driver. A single mom barely getting by. This mansion, this life, it wasn't hers. But as she looked at James, then at Lily and Mia giggling in the next room, she felt something shift. This wasn't about wealth or status. It was about connection, about people who needed each other. "I don't know," she said honestly. "This is a lot to take in. I need time." James nodded, his expression soft. "Take all the time you need. I just want you to know you're not alone anymore." That night, Lila lay awake in her tiny apartment, Mia asleep beside her. She thought about the mansion, about Lily's growing smile, about James's quiet transformation. She'd spent so long fighting to survive. She'd forgotten how to hope. Maybe this was her chance, not for a fancy house or money, but for something deeper, a place where she and Mia could belong. Weeks later, Lila made her decision. She didn't move into the mansion, but she stayed in Lily and James's lives. She helped Lily grow stronger, watched James become the father he wanted to be, and let herself believe in second chances. One wrong delivery had turned her world upside down, not with wealth, but with love, trust, and a new kind of family. As months passed, the bond between them grew. Lily's laughter filled the mansion, and Mia's joy lit up every room. James learned to listen, to be present, to love without fear. And Lila, who had once felt so alone, found herself surrounded by people who cared. The mansion wasn't her home, but it was a place where she was needed, where she was valued. One sunny afternoon, Lila, Mia, Lily, and James sat in the garden, eating cookies and watching the fountain sparkle. The girls ran off to chase butterflies, their giggles echoing. James turned to Lila, his eyes warm. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything." Lila smiled, her heart full. "We're in this together," she said, and for the first time in years, she believed it.